This is an interview with Neven Hendricks, chairperson of the board of Save the Children South Africa, on Channel Africa.
Serious problem in South Africa, and there's been a decline in our success. We've failed to improve on our infant mortality rate of children under 5. So the situation is very serious.
The Child Development Index gauges child well-being against 3 indicators: health, education and nutrition. What, according to the report, is the biggest threat facing children in the country?
The biggest threat facing our children at this point in time is malnutrition, and that will get worse and worse because of the rocketing food prices, and will continue to impact our children adversely if we don't get a handle in the future.
Now, Save the Children talks about how this big drop in ranking is mainly a consequence of other countries having overtaken South Africa in terms of advancing children's well-being. But what can the country do to improve child well-being?
Well, there are a number of interventions that we can introduce. The first thing is we need to look very closely at how we improve children that are malnourished in South Africa. Now, there are a number of clinics and that can be utilized to provide children with the nourishment that they need. Secondly, what is very, very important is poverty alleviation, and that goes to the very heart of the problem, where families are unable to maintain their under 5-year-olds because they just can't afford to. We are in a country where there's mass unemployment. And last but not least is the stark inequalities in wealth in South Africa exacerbates the problem quite considerably.
And the government and civil society organizations, are they doing enough to address the plight of children?
Well, if government and civil society organizations were doing enough, South Africa would not have fallen 24 places in the CDI rankings. So the answer to that is there's nothing to suggest that they are doing enough. I think both civil society organizations and South Africa as an absolute nation, together with government, need to address the problem rather urgently because things can only get worse.
Finally, the 2012 edition of the Child Development Index, does it show any encouraging results from the South African point of view?
From South African point of view, the report basically indicates that we've fallen 24 places primarily because we haven't done enough. In actual fact, we haven't got any better, but we haven't got any worse. We do see the poverty and the inequalities in society in South Africa increasing very rapidly, which could be indicative of the fact that if we do our next report in a decade's time, we've come out with a very different result on the wrong side if massive interventions aren't being instituted right now. I mean, just a country like Tanzania reduced their infant mortality rate by 50% over the same period. And Tanzania is one of the poorer nations in Africa, where South Africa, being a rich nation on the continent, should be far more successful in these interventions if we just have the resolve to get things right.